So what if I told you that within the next 5 years, you could be taking an autonomous drone taxi from your house to the airport? Would you be calling me crazy? Because I probably would. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a company that is making this a reality and why I actually just added them to my retirement portfolio. So let's get into it. So I wanted to make a follow-up from last week's video where I talked about 3 disruptive industries that ARK Invest actually talks about in their Big Ideas 2021 research report. Now, if you haven't already watched that video, I'll have a link to it at the end of this video so you can go ahead and check it out because I do go in depth on industries like digital wallets, drones, and also virtual worlds where we talk about augmented reality and virtual reality. So today, I want to talk about EHang Holdings, ticker symbol EH. Now, they operate within the drone industry and they're trying to revolutionize the way that we travel by using autonomous drone taxis. I know to some that may sound crazy, but these guys are actually making it a reality, so I wanted to share my research with all of you guys. So the format for today's video is going to be broken up into 4 main parts. In part 1, we're going to talk about the total addressable market, and then in part 2, we'll get into the different business segments. Part 3 is going to be the financials, and part 4 will be some of the recent developments and future growth for this company. Now, I will have timestamps down below in the pinned comment along with a link to my Discord channel if you guys want to check that out. And also, if you guys like what you see, be sure to drop a like on the video because it helps out in the YouTube algorithm in a massive way, and I can't thank you guys enough. Now, one last plugin before we get into today's video. I do want to announce that as we get closer to 1,000 subscribers, I will be announcing some sort of giveaway. I'm not sure yet what, but I will be doing something just as a thank you to everybody that's helped support the channel. So if you're not subscribed, be sure to do that if you want to be included in that giveaway. So let's get into today's video. So first, let's talk about the total addressable market, or TAM, because right now this isn't a massive industry. We don't have drones taking us from our house to the grocery store or to the airport or really anywhere at all. But we are not that far away from this. Now, I did cover this industry in depth in my ARK Big Ideas 2021 video, so I'm not gonna get too in depth in this one, but ARK is expecting lower battery costs and autonomous technology to really power the shift to aerial drones, with drone delivery platforms generating roughly $275 billion in delivery revenue, $50 billion in hardware sales, and $12 billion in mapping revenue, all within the next decade. Now, if we expand on these projections even further, you can see ARK is estimating that within the next 5 years, drone delivery revenue could reach $50 billion, hardware sales $14 billion, and mapping $3 billion, which when added all up comes out to $67 billion in potential revenue. And as you'll see when we get to the business segments, they have products in all 3 of these categories, which means there is definitely a large market that will only increase as technology gets better. And in case you needed more confidence in their projections, Morgan Stanley is also estimating that by 2040, the global TAM for urban air mobility could reach $1.5 trillion, with Europe and China accounting for 50% market share. Now, I bring that up because as you'll see in this video, those are the 2 key geographical areas that EHang is currently targeting. So now that you see that there's a massive total addressable market, let's get into the business segment so you can better understand what it is that they actually do. So EHang's mission is to make safe, autonomous, and eco-friendly air mobility accessible to everyone through autonomous aerial vehicles, or AAVs. In today's increasingly populated and interconnected world, traditional modes of urban transportation continue to contribute to congestion and pollution and are largely confined to land-based infrastructure. EHang is pioneering the future of transportation through our proprietarily developed AAVs and related commercial solutions. Now, one of the things that I really like about EHang is that they're going after several markets within the drone industry, which tells me that they're going to have a diversified revenue stream, which is always great to see because that means they're not relying on one customer or one market to get all their money. Now, in this video, I'm really going to mainly be focusing on the transportation segment because I see the biggest growth coming from that market over the next 5 years. But if you watched my ARK 2021 Big Ideas video, you'll know that there are several use cases for autonomous drones outside of just transportation. So EHang's 3 main business segments can be broken up into this. You have the passenger transportation and logistics segment, which includes autonomous drone taxis, tourism, and package delivery. And like I mentioned, this will be the main focus of this video because there's been some recent developments regarding their drone taxi and package delivery services that I will get into in just a little. Now, they also have the smart city management segment, employment, which includes public services like traffic management, infrastructure management, and even firefighting. And if you live in the United States or Australia, then you know just how bad wildfires got last year. So this is a technology that could be very useful in firefighting and may even save lives. And the last segment is aerial media solutions, which is basically when dozens of drones create coordinated light shows in the sky. And as you can see, it's some pretty cool shit. Now, I've never witnessed something like this, but I really hope I get to in the near future. Now, to get mass adoption of this technology, EHang is going to need hard data that proves this is a safe and effective alternative to traditional transportation. So on August 14th, EHang announced that they've established strategic partnerships with companies in Austria's third largest city, Linz, with the parties involved agreeing to work together with the hopes of transforming Linz into an urban air mobility pilot city. In December, it was announced that EHang had received a long-term trial flight permit across Austrian national airspace. This permit now allows trial operation of full unmanned flights in Austrian airspace, making this the first flight permit for EHang's passenger-grade AAV within the European Union. So this is definitely a step in the right direction in terms of getting local government approval. However, Europe is not the only market that they're gaining traction in. In November 2020, EHang became the first company to fly an autonomous drone taxi over downtown Korea. This led them to receiving the first ever special certificate of airworthiness for autonomous aerial vehicles, and thanks to the success of this test flight, the Seoul metropolitan government actually purchased the drone, making it the first officially registered AAV of its kind, which again will only build the case and show that this is a viable solution for transportation. So now that we have a good idea of what EHang actually does, let's get into the fundamentals where we'll take a look at the income statement and balance sheet to get a good sense of the financials for the company. So as we go through the financial statements, I'll be focusing on the far right columns where the currency is already in US dollars. Now starting with revenue, they did about $6 million in Q3, which is a 100% increase both quarter over quarter and year over year, which is actually really unique if you break that down. This tells me that they are just starting to see that strong industry disrupting type of growth because they basically had the same revenue in Q2 2020 and Q3 2019. If you look at their total revenue for the 9 months ending September 30th, they've done about $10 million in revenue, which means the most recent quarter accounted for 60% of their revenue, and that's only from one quarter. So I believe moving forward, we could see anywhere from 75% to 100+% revenue growth. And after this fundamental overview, I'll get into some of the recent news that could be fueling that strong growth. Now, as usual with companies like EHang that are disruptive, they're not quite profitable yet with a net loss of $6 million for the first 9 months of 2020, but because they are the first mover in an industry that's only going to explode over the next decade, I think that number will get better as we see more mass adoption. Right now, they have a gross margin of 58%, which means once they get to scale, they should have no problem being profitable, even if it's only a little at first. Now, from a financial health standpoint, EHang is in great shape. They currently have $36 million in cash and short-term investments, plus last week they announced that they received a $40 million investment from a European asset management firm, bringing their total cash levels to about $75 million. Now, with current liabilities of $22 million and total liabilities of $29 million, they have more than enough cash on hand to pay off any debts and still have money left over to continue investing in their technology. So clearly, EHang is just starting to really take off from a revenue growth standpoint, and from a balance sheet standpoint, they have an amazing one with way more cash than they do debt, which means they can continue investing in the company. So now that we're through all the basics, let's take a look at some of the recent press releases and really what's going to be fueling future growth for EHang. So in July of 2020, EHang announced that they would be expanding their production capacity due to an increase in demand for their AAVs. The new production facility in China will have an estimated annual capacity of 600 units and includes a $6 million investment from the local government. Now, why would they need to expand their production capacities? Well, on December 29th, China released its first national standard for express delivery using unmanned aircraft. This standard was formed by a joint effort between EHang, JD.com, and ZTO Express. Now, if you don't know, JD.com is another e-commerce giant in Asia behind Alibaba, and ZTO Express is actually one of the world's largest express delivery companies. In the third quarter alone, they moved a record 4.6 billion packages and more than 10 billion packages in 2019. This means they're they're working with some of the biggest players in the Chinese commerce industry to create new standards that will allow for autonomous drone deliveries. Now, the implementation of this industry standard is of great significance for improving the last mile delivery service as well as promoting the development of intelligent aerial logistics of the urban air mobility industry. By working with some of the largest companies within the e-commerce space, this will allow EHang to grow exponentially, considering that they are the first mover in this space and could now become the go-to drone delivery for some of the world's largest companies. And now for the biggest press release in my opinion, because this actually showed me that we are a lot closer to autonomous drone taxis than even I thought. So on January 21st, EHang announced that after 10,000 incident-free flights, they've been accepted into the Air Mobility Urban Large Experimental Demonstration Project, or AMULED project for short, because that is a long-ass acronym. Now, this is so important because the AMULED project was initiated by the European Union and 17 other prominent companies and institutions around the world, including Airbus and Boeing. Now, throughout 2022, EHang will perform trial operations of their flagship two-seat passenger-grade AAV in 3 countries, which include Spain, the UK, and the Netherlands. Now, through this program, EHang will increase its interaction with European regulatory bodies, including the European Aviation Safety Agency, and this cooperative effort should pave the way for the formulation of relevant urban air mobility policies and standards, which will result in the implementation of this technology in Europe. So clearly, there's a lot of growth in the company, and they're really making great progress in terms of getting past some of the regulation hurdles that come with this kind of disruptive technology. Right now, I feel like EHang is executing at the highest level possible, and it's only going to accelerate as this industry explodes. So like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a stock that I have in my retirement account, and I really plan on holding for a minimum 5 years, maybe even longer depending on how things go. But this is one that I am very, very excited about. And I'm super excited to see how the portfolio overall turns out, because I only have 3 stocks in there right now, and that's Nextech, Humble, and EHang. And they're all industry disruptors that are super small market caps and have massive total addressable markets. So if you guys want me to keep you updated on that portfolio, because it really is a disruptive portfolio, then I could definitely do that. Just let me know down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you want me to continue covering EHang, let me know in the comments section. And with that being said, enjoy the Super Bowl, and I will catch you guys in the next video.